Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we have some spoilers for Campaign 3 of Critical Role up to episode 105. So if you aren't caught up yet with Campaign 3, I recommend clicking off the video, getting caught up, because I don't want to hear anyone saying, but there's spoilers in the video. I warned you. There are spoilers here in this video, and I warned you. This is your last chance. Spoilers. In episode 105 of Campaign 3, Orm has now received a new power-up, and that power-up came in the form of his sword Seedling becoming a relic of the Red Solstice. Now that is very similar to a vestige of Divergence, however, the main difference is it happened after the Divergence, so the weapon became this powerful holy relic after the Divergence, and specifically during the solstice that is being caused currently by Ruidus and everything that's sort of going on. So the name comes from it being basically becoming a vestige during this solstice, which is really cool, and I really like that. But it got me thinking about other sort of relics that could be made, and who on the Bell's Hell specifically desperately needs one, and who desperately needs some sort of power-up. And there are 4 candidates who I'm going to talk about today who should receive something like this, so they can, have a boost in power, if you will. But before we talk about who I think should get a relic of the Red Solstice, I should talk about people who don't need one. First and foremost, Fern and Ashton. They do not need anything like this at all, because they have their Titan elemental forms, and to stack something else on top of that would be just absolutely disgusting, and frankly unnecessary. Other people in the group deserve something to happen to them, so it'd be nice for them to get something new. So for Ashton and Fern to get something else on top of what they already have seems a little bit overkill, especially when, like I've said a couple times now, there are other people who need something to boost themselves up. And the last character I don't think should get a relic of the Red Solstice is Imogen. One, because I do believe her control over her exalted form will happen very, very, very soon, if not already, and she just hasn't used it. So frankly, I think she doesn't need one, because I feel like a power-up in general is just coming for her, because her connection to Ruidus and all this sort of stuff, I definitely think she is going to get a power-up very shortly, again, if she doesn't already have it that she hasn't used quite yet. But at the same time, the 3 people here who don't have a relic, or who I don't believe should get a relic of the Red Solstice, are the 3 people who I think are sort of on the fence the most about the gods. These 3 characters to me have never shown too much interest. Fern showed a little bit, but both Ashton and Imogen are both super on the fence about, do they really care about helping the gods? And I personally think that having these 3 be representing something else is really cool. So the idea of having these 3 being something different and not having these relics means that everything is coming together here to save Exandria, and I kind of like that idea. I do feel the need to say that there is one more person who doesn't need to get another relic, is Orm. He already has a relic, and he doesn't need another one. I feel like having multiple, while isn't totally out of the realm of possibility, isn't necessary. So frankly, he doesn't need another one. We don't even know what this one does yet, but if it's anything like the other vestiges that we've seen in the past, it's going to be cracked and going to be insane. So frankly, he doesn't need 2 of these bad boys running around in his pockets. So now we move on to the characters who I think do deserve to get one, or should just get one because a power-up is needed for these characters. And I'm going to start with Laudna, because there's a lot of people sort of saying Laudna getting full control over Delilah is a power-up in general. She no longer has this threat of being taken over. To me, that means she's gone from, negative 50 back to 0. She's back at base. She's where she belongs to be at. That's not a power-up to me. So I personally do believe that she needs to get some sort of power-up. I've theorized about some sort of light form of dread now that she has control over it, and she can really represent the Sun Tree now, or something along those lines. But I think a relic of the Red Solstice coming from the Matron of Ravens would be really cool, especially after episode 105, where the 3 people representing the Matron's temple in Vasselheim sort of stood up behind her and said, hey, you are the person that is the shadow walking with the light, and we feel comfort in that. We like you. I think that's a great sort of way for her to sort of be connected to this god. For her to connect to this god who is all about death and moving on to the next life, as a character who is dead, who isn't moving on to the next life, I feel like that'd be really cool for her to get some sort of boon from her. I don't know what it could be. I feel like it could be some sort of arcane focus for her to use, or some sort of just power up in general. Who knows? Maybe her form of dread will take on the form of a raven or something like that, or she'll get a new form of dread that's a power up in the form of a raven. But I definitely feel like she needs maybe armor, or maybe some sort of arcane focus, or a I don't know, a crown maybe, just something to represent the Raven Queen, a crown from a queen. Maybe that's it. I've hit the nail on the head in my opinion. Give her a damn crown from the Raven Queen. And next is Breas. Now, another character who might be in a bit of contention from some people who think he doesn't need one, and that's because he just got the Truth Bearer armor in episode 105. And the Truth Bearer armor is really cool. It gives him a +2 to AC, max of 20. It gives him the protection fighting style. And the biggest thing, in my opinion, that it gives him is the 30 additional hit points for lay on hands. That's pretty nuts. That's a good thing. That's like an extra 2-3 hits that someone will be able to receive after some healing from Breas. And I think that is the most insane thing that comes from this armor. However, compare that to a lot of other things that we've seen from like Vestiges, and that's not too much. I mean, honestly, a total for 20 AC isn't all that crazy, especially by level 13, and it still gives him disadvantage on stealth checks. But I do think there is some cool narrative stuff that we could do to sort of spin this armor into becoming either a vestige for, or not a vestige, a relic of the Red Solstice for the Platinum Dragon or Asmodeus, depending on what path that Breas chooses to follow. Does he go down the path of redemption, or does he continue down the path following Asmodeus? And as he does so, the armor could change and become a relic of either or. And I think that would be a really interesting thing for him to do in this story, and I really would love to see that happen. Imagine this armor changes from being like the nice, like the white that it is. It's sort of like a silver white that fits his aesthetic. Imagine it turns to black and becomes Asmodeus's. I think that would be really cool. But at the same time, if it stays like the silvery platinum color and, becomes even more powerful under the Platinum Dragon, that would also be really cool. So I feel like the Truthbearer armor for Breas could be a nice storytelling device, and I think that'd be really cool for him to do. It becomes a relic. It shows where his story is going. Is he going to be good? Is he going to be bad? I think that is the perfect thing to make for a relic in his arsenal. So next up is Dorian Storm. Now, I did mention earlier that I think that, Fern, Ashton, and Imogen are people who question the ever-living shit out of the gods, but Dorian seems to be the person the most questioning the shit out of the gods. So for me, an interesting story thing that could happen for him is he just received the sword Gamblecleft from his father, which has some sort of wind spirit inside of it. As of right now, we don't know what it is. It could literally be anything. So for me, I think as he moves forward, if he chooses to continue to sort of, go against the gods, maybe he could find some sort of path to a primordial being, some sort of elemental or titan, like something like that could represent wind, and he could sort of be the parallel for Ashton and Fern, because they're both earth and fire, and then Imogen is storm, right? Like, she's got her lightning powers and all that sort of stuff. So for Dorian, who could potentially find his way to some sort of elemental, it's possible, but as of right now, it seems a little harder to sort of grasp the knot. Maybe when they go to the Fey realm, he'll be able to find something like that. Who knows? But if he does eventually choose to side with the gods, maybe he has a conversation with a particular god, the Storm Lord, Vord, I think he could potentially receive a power-up there. Especially because Gamblecleft already has a wind, element to it. Maybe it could become a vestige and have some sort of lightning element to it. His name is Dorian Storm, after all, so to me, him becoming the Storm of Exandria, while Imogen represents the Storm of Ruidus, I think that would be a really cool sort of duality here, and I think that'd be a lot of fun to see just in general. And for him to eventually come around to the gods would be a big step forward for him, especially because as of right now, with everything that happened with Cyrus, he kind of hates them. So I think that would be really interesting to see, and again, it could be an elevation of a weapon he already has. Granted, we don't know what Gamblecleft has up its sleeve as of right now, but I think that would be really cool for it to become something even more. And the person who I think deserves a vestige the most is Chetney motherfucking Pokapi. This guy has given up so much shit throughout this campaign, it's not even funny. He has given up so much stuff. First of all, a vestige. He literally gave up a vestige in the Shattered Teeth for Captain Novo so they could have safe travel and so that Fern could get something else. He literally gave up a vestige so the group can maneuver around with Captain Novos. That is a huge sacrifice in and of itself. Not to mention, he later gave up Scream Needle because of the whole thing surrounding Ishta. Those are the two blades that belong to Odahan Thul, and they had that whole scuffle about should they use those weapons or not. And then, he gave Scream Needle to Laudna, who then absorbed Scream Needle. And now Ishta is currently sitting in the back doing nothing because, Laudna doesn't want Ishta to be used. And frankly, I just firmly believe that Chetney, after giving up so much shit, so much really good shit, needs something. And he's had turmoil the entire campaign. And, it's his primary weapon, beside the chisel. And I do think he should get some sort of power up to either the chisel or turmoil. I'm just thinking of weapons he can use already that he uses consistently to get some sort of power up. Now, the question for me was, who should Chetney sort of get this relic of the Red Solstice from? And it took me a while to think about it, but honestly, the answer is pretty simple. The Moonweaver. I just feel like his connection as a werewolf to the moon, the fact that Ruidus is the opposing moon, or was a moon and is no longer a moon, I think to have the other moon sort of reach down to Chetney, the person who literally gets affected by the moon the most, and then gets some sort of power up there, whether it be a power up to Turmoil, his chisel, or even he gets the super Chetney werewolf form that a bunch of people have been speculating on for ages. He gains an item that gives him control over that super werewolf form. That would be cool. And it would be really nice to have that duality of, of Katha versus Ruidus. And I think that would be really cool and really fun, especially because Chetney has given up so much shit, and for him to get something that is specifically for him would be huge. And I can just envision Turmoil, if he does get this, it starts to get moon patterns and then a werewolf head that sort of leads out to the blade coming out of its mouth. Something like that, I don't know, maybe. But I really just like the idea of Katha versus Ruidus and Chetney being the one to represent that, because he's been affected by both throughout the campaign. So for me, I think that would be really cool for it to happen. So yeah, I think the Moonweaver should reach out to Chetney. So let me know what you think. Do you think I hit the nail on the head on who should get a relic? Did I hit the nail on the head on which god should hand out these relics? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'm curious to see what other people think about what gods could go where and who could talk to who. It seems like the party are very hard set on talking to more gods as they're currently in Vasselheim, and it would be ideal for them to do it here, especially after Orm basically showed off hey, we have direct access to gods right now, so we should probably use that. And I think that was, that'd be really cool for us to see more of these instances. Now, I don't think Breus's will happen right away because he needs to sort of work on himself. I feel like Breus will be the last one to receive a vestige, and that's going to come down to, are you good or bad? So, who knows? But I do think that Truthbearer becoming a vestige of either or would be really cool, especially if it goes the Asmodeus route and the armor turns black and the there's no platinum dragon iconography now. There's Asmodeus iconography. I feel like that'd be really cool. But let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys on Friday for whatever video I make next. Peace.